Hello and welcome. I hope your coffee is warm because today we are building a Rakdos deck, and if anyone needs a warm coffee, I think it's a Rakdos. Or maybe they like iced coffee too. So Rakdos is all about the now. It is all about attacking right now. It is all about creating chaos right now because that is the most entertaining thing that you can do for you. The colors we are in are red for being in the now and doing whatever you want, and black for doing whatever you want because you are the most important person here. The colors it is not are green because we are not here to think about nature or the world. We are not blue because we don't think ahead just because we need to plan or something. We don't like structure. We do think ahead a little bit, but only if it means that we can do some more things for ourselves. And we are not white, definitely not, because we don't think about the others. We just think about ourselves and we don't think about structure or order. We think about chaos. We want chaos. Chaos is a theme for us, together with demons, betrayal, because we like to switch sides and because that is also chaotic. We like fairy aggression, we like fire, reach, and we like hedonism. We like to be in the now. We don't want to think about the future necessarily if we can have more fun right now. So what to expect? We'll go over the commanders you can choose. So we have a top list for that. Some tips on deck building or playstyle. And then we go through some of the most important staples, some combos that you can find in Rakdos, and other win cons, because we do need those even though we are having fun right now in this moment. For the strengths and weaknesses, as always, we start with the purpose of Rakdos, because we need a purpose in life even though we don't want it. So we are all about being aggressive. We are about being the one who pushes the game forward because we want our opponents to go along with us. We want to make sure that everyone is having fun in that way. We want to be disruptive because we like cursing other people because it's fun to watch them squirm. But also we like curses because it forces other people to play in a different manner. So we are in a way very controlling, but more so because we want other people to be aggressive too. We also like burn or high power, which is a little bit of a small theme in there. But burn also helps the game move forward too, because people need to be afraid of dying any moment. It can happen anytime. High power is the same thing. If someone has a very high powered creature, you might die the next turn, so they better live very hedonistic lives until that moment. And we have lots of removal, and we can definitely help refresh it because we have ways to draw a bunch of power. So we will make sure that other people live in the now because they might lose their creatures anyways. That is one thing we can do. Our strengths are removal first of all, because Rakdos has two of the best colors for removal. White is also very good at it, but we are just very aggressive, definitely with the targeted removal, but also we are very good colors for board wipes next to that. We also have very good card advantage. Black is one of the colors that draws the most, maybe at a cost of life, but red has become better and better at it too. And we are very aggressive via burn or high power, like I said, but also we are very good at making a lot of chaotic decisions. We can make other people lose half their life. We can make sure that other people have something that they don't want. We can make sure to goad other people, stuff like that. Our weaknesses are that we have no ramp at all, so we will need some artifact ramp. That is always an option. So make sure that you have enough. And we lose life really quickly ourselves. So that does mean that we need to be fast as well, because we will be killing ourselves along the way, because that is fun. Our mindset is to make others lose faster than we do. That is because we lose very fast and to be chaotic and try to win along the way. It is all about the ride, not about the destination at all, but we do try to win anyways. Fittingly, we have a top 13 of commanders for Rakdos, and for these I only choose the ones that have a very special place in their archetypes, like Prosper Tome-Bound, which is very good for two archetypes, Treasure and Exile. Treasure is very good because his ability to, whenever you play a card from exile, will allow you to create a token, the Pact Boon. Also, Prosper says at the beginning of your end step, you exile the top card of your library and you can play it until the end of your next turn. So that means that you are already very Rakdos because you will be playing things until the end of your next turn. That is one thing. But creating treasure is a way to ramp in Rakdos. Actually, I said that there were none, but the treasure sort of works, but it just works one time, and that is also very Rakdos feeling. For treasures, I think you will want ways to create multiples. You will want ways to sacrifice those treasures for even more value, and you will need at least some things that work with exiling. This is also why Prosper is very good in the exile archetype. In this way of building him, you will want to really push the amount of cards that you are playing from exile. Of course, you will still be rewarded by the Pact Boon, so that you will create many treasure tokens along the way. But if you build him like this, you won't be focusing on those treasures. So in the first way, he's really not that much of a commander, more like a cantrip or something. In the second way, he really fits and becomes his own strong, identitied sort of demon warlock. Now, I said multiple times that Rakdos is about burn, and Judith really fits the description for a commander that wants to be about burn, because she says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get the ability to give that spell Death Touch and Lifelink. This works very well with pingers and stuff like that. Also, you could choose the second ability, where whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can also choose to create a 2/2 that also, when it dies, deals 2 damage to each opponent. So that is burn on its own. But mostly you want to use this to ping creatures, so that you can immediately kill them, because your spells gain Death Touch. Your spells also gain Lifelink, so that means that while you are killing every one of your opponent's creatures, you are also gaining life. Which feels weird in Rakdos, but we are hedonistic, and that means that we could also refresh ourselves. And that is exactly what we are doing here. By creating Carnage, we are refreshing ourselves. Sacrificing your own creatures is also very Rakdos. You know what's also very Rakdos? Rakdos is very Rakdos, because Rakdos is actually Rakdos. Which is true. So Rakdos is a great sacrifice commander, because when Rakdos is on the battlefield, you can sacrifice any creature. That is one thing that you will need in sacrifice decks. The ability you might not care about, it gives Rakdos indestructible, could be helpful. But also you get the ability to, whenever you sacrifice another creature, to exile cards equal to its mana value from the top, and until your next end step you may play those cards. And mana of any type can be spent to cast the spells. So you can target a player, even your opponents, steal their cards, and you can sacrifice creatures whenever you want. So that really helps with many aspects of the sacrifice deck. The problem here is that Rakdos is in Rakdos, and that means that you will need a bunch of ramp to play this 5-color commander. So do make sure that you have a lot of that. In essence, you will become more of a controlling sacrifice deck, and that means that you need a lot of control until you can do the thing that you want. So it is a bit weird, but this Rakdos deck is more controlling and will focus on having a lot of removal. And if you like that, then Rakdos might be your thing. Dragons are very generic, because you can often just play the Ur-Dragon. But we can change the archetype a little bit with Rivaz of the Claw. We mostly change the archetype because now we are all about dragons that are actually red, which is of course what dragons really want to be. Now Rivaz says that you can tap him to add 2 mana of any color to spend on dragon creature spells. Then once during each of your turns you may cast a dragon from your graveyard, so it's a lot of reanimation. And then whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, when it dies, you have to exile it. So you can only play it one more time, usually. Thing is though that this color combination is very good at being very fast to put things into your graveyard, especially the things you want to put into your graveyard, and then you can very easily reanimate things because you are in the color black. So this is already a very good color combination, and this just ties the deck together. So I feel like this is a very good way to play dragons in a way that feels just slightly different because of the reanimator theme. If you like clones, then the Master Multiplied can be a very chaotic way to do it. And of course that fits Rakdos perfectly. Now, the Master Multiplied has the ability to stop the legend rule from applying to creature tokens you control. So if you create a copy of, for example, this creature, you won't have to sacrifice any of them. Now, triggered abilities also that you control cannot cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control. And then the Master has Myriad, so that you can create multiple tokens of the Master whenever you start attacking with the Master. Now, you also want to play other cards that want to copy things, but maybe because you are Rakdos and you care about the self, you will only be copying the Master Multiplied. And I think that is very flavorful, although I really don't know because I have never watched Doctor Who and sue me, and if you have watched it, please explain the whole series to me in the comments. Speaking of Universe Beyond, we have Deadpool the trading card, and this has become very popular, I think very infamously so. So Deadpool the trading card, aside from very cool art on the card, says that when Deadpool enters, you may exchange his text box and another creature's text box. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 3 life. So your opponent will get this text box that just says at the beginning of your upkeep you lose 3 life, but for 3 mana you can choose to sacrifice the creature, and then each other player draws a card. So it is drawback on top of a drawback, because you will be losing life until you pay 3 mana to sacrifice your own creature, and then each other player draws a card. This is also often played as a clone deck, because if you can manage to clone Deadpool multiple times, this can become very annoying. It becomes its own way of removing creatures that's just so hard to get rid of, and really feels like a great group slog curse-like deck. Now, while Rakdos is not really about ramp, it is about creating a bunch of mana at one time. So these rituals will make sure that you have a bunch of mana that you can then pay for only for this turn, for example. Now, the infamous Cruelclaw from Bloomborough plays on this a little bit. The Cruelclaw says, whenever Cruelclaw deals combat damage to a player, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, and you may cast it by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. This means that you can play a very big spell for free, but you only can do it that one time, and you will get a very chaotic thing because you won't know what you exile from the top of your library until you know it's a non-land, but you know nothing else, and you may cast that big thing. So you will want to play a bunch of very high costed cards and then make sure that you win the game through that. It can be very fun, but it's very fragile in a way too. So do make sure that you have other ways, and Rakdos is very good at this. So do make sure in this deck, and I see no one doing this, that you have a lot of rituals or stuff like that with which you can also pay for those very big spells. And make sure that whenever you do play one of these, they are strong enough to win you the game on their own. Then Strefan, which is a very weird name, plays around with vampires. In Rakdos, this is actually very normal, because vampires should be in Rakdos actually. Strefan says at the beginning of your end step you create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn. So you will need to ping your opponents and then make sure that you get those blood tokens. And then whenever Strefan attacks, you may sacrifice 2 of them and put a vampire from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking without paying its mana cost. The vampire also gains indestructible, so you will have a very strong vampire hopefully that you can put into play immediately. Weird thing is that vampires aren't really that strong on their own, so most of the things that you will be able to play won't be good at first. So you will need a bit of creativity to make this into a very good deck, but at least it's unique for the vampire archetype to not be, let's say, Mardu. Now, group slug we have talked a little bit about, and Rakdos is very good at it because it has a lot of curses and it can make sure that your opponents are slowly pinged to death. It feels weird to be in a sort of controlling archetype because group slug is all about slowing your opponents down, and it doesn't feel very hedonistic, but it is also about torturing your opponents, and Valgavoth loves to do this. Valgavoth says whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1 counter on Valgavoth and draw a card. So on their turn you need to make sure that they lose life. And this is of course the greatest way to lose life. You want to be all about pinging your opponents and easily dealing a little bit of damage every time, so that every time that happens, you grow your Valgavoth, which is such a gross name, and draw a card. Drawing cards does mean that you can slow your opponents down a lot while you are still pulling ahead. So I think this is a great commander for group slug, mostly because it doesn't really do that on its own. In Goblins we have Wort, the Boggart Auntie. This is of course very flavorful for this moment right now, in which Lorwyn is becoming a very big thing. Wort says mostly that at the beginning of your upkeep you may return target goblin from the graveyard to your hand. So it doesn't seem all that special because goblins are very small and you can put them into your hand, and that doesn't feel too good. But goblins are very small, so the fact that they are put into your hand does mean that you can then easily play them. That's basically it. I think there are way better ways to play goblins, but Wort is very popular nonetheless, I think mostly because of flavor reasons. Now, X spells feel very Rakdos, even more than just rituals do, because they work with rituals, but they also are all about putting every little bit of mana you have into one spell, and that is just dangerous enough to make that Rakdos part of your brain tingle a little bit. Rowan, Scion of War, says that you can tap her and then spells you cast this turn that are black and or red, which all of them should be as Rowan is your commander, or maybe you have some colorless things that could be, but they cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. So you want to hurt yourself and then you will play maybe one very big X spell that will become cheaper for every bit of life you lost. So just make sure that you lose 39 life and something will become 39 mana cheaper. You can go very hard with this. Goading was so popular for a little moment that it became very unpopular just a moment later. Kardur, the Doomscourge, tried to jump into this short moment of popularity, which already just feels like a Rakdos story to me. Kardur Doomscourge is a 4 mana creature that when it enters onto your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able and attack a player other than you if able. So they are goaded. And then whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So you could also have a bunch of creatures from your side that are attacking and dying, but you could also have your opponent's attacking creatures die, so that each opponent then also loses a life and you gain a life. Or your opponents will be incentivized not to block and kill a creature, and that means that they will have to take damage. So it's a win-win in that way, or a lose-lose, depending on who you are. Now for the 13th we have a god, the Scorpion God, and this one works with -1 counters. The Scorpion God says whenever a creature with a -1 counter on it dies, you draw a card. That is of course already very strong, but you will need things that put -1 counters on creatures, and that can feel a little bit lame. But make you yourself draw some cards and it already feels better. But we go on. For 3 mana you can put a -1 counter on another target creature, so that when it would already die, you would at least draw a card along with it. And when the Scorpion God dies, you can return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step, so that you won't have to pay the commander tax again. So that's another plus. So how do you choose between these commanders or any other Rakdos commander? There are 2 questions, because I like to keep things short. First, you choose between value and aggression. Let me know what your score is between 1 and 10, and that will tell you what commander fits you. But also answer me this. Think about the amount of chaos you want to create and also score yourself from 1 to 10, and that will show you which Rakdos commander fits you best. Let me know. Now on to one of the most important things. No, the most important thing. To finish the game, because we want the game to be finished fast. The way we will do this is through unimaginable acts of aggression. We want to attack, we want to make sure our opponents attack each other, so we have a few ways. We have pingers, in which we have, for example, Mayhem Devil if we have a sacrifice theme, or Sir Conrad the Grim, which is just great if you are trying to get things killed and return, which Rakdos is actually also good at. Burning, we like burning things, people most of all. Goading them, making sure that they want to attack, like with Kardur the Doomscourge, which is a way then to attack ourselves. We are actually already goaded as a Rakdos deck. And we also have some combos. In fact, we have some very strong ones, because Dualcaster Mage and Saw in Half are a very strong version of a CEDH combo, where you cast Saw in Half on another creature, you play Dualcaster Mage, then you copy the Saw before it happens and target the Dualcaster Mage again, resolving the copy and then creating 2 Dualcaster Mages with which you can then repeat the Saw in Half combo, meaning that you can have as many creatures as you want and maybe even good creatures aside from that, but really you don't need it. Then we are in black, so we have some combos with Animate Dead. In this case we could, for example, play it on World Gorger Dragon, which is a dragon that eats everything. So you reanimate the World Gorger with Animate Dead, then you exile Animate Dead with the Gorger, you sacrifice the dragon because of that, and then you can return the Animate Dead to repeat this and tap the mana from lands that entered every time, so that you even have infinite mana alongside with that. And with that, in Rakdos, you should definitely be able to win, because you have a lot of draw spells too. And then All Will Be One, which is one that I thought would be more popular at this moment, together with, for example, Ob Nixilis Captive Kingpin. So what you do is you ping an opponent, you put a counter on Ob Nixilis and exile a card. Then you deal a damage to an opponent with All Will Be One, and then you repeat this process over and over, killing your opponents, which is the goal of the game. Now, to build the core of a Rakdos deck, we will start with Ramp, and this is one of the most important things you can do in the game, and Rakdos is really bad at it. But you do have artifacts like any color does. So Rakdos Signet and Talisman of Indulgence definitely have to go in these decks. Together with that, you have some weird types like rituals, like Dark Ritual and Mana Kaiser, which can give you temporary mana, which is of course very on brand, and in the same manner we have treasures, which are kind of temporary too, so cards like Black Market Connection become even better in this color combination. From the worst to the best part, because we like our very good and very bad things. Removal, we have way too many choices, but for example we have Terminate. Rakdos Charm is very good as a removal for certain types, but then could also deal a bunch of damage, so also acts as burn. Bedevil is also very good, of course something that only Rakdos really can play. Chaos Warp is very good because it exiles and most of our things just destroy, and then Feed the Swarm is very agile, let's say it can hit many things. Board wipes we are also very good at, so we are just really good at controlling the board, which feels a little bit weird in Rakdos because we shouldn't be the controlling player, but we like killing things so that people want to use them faster. Is what I tell myself when I play Rakdos. So board wipes we are very good at as well. We have Blasphemous Act, which goes in any deck with red. We have Toxic Deluge, which goes in any deck with black, I feel like. And then some very classic ones like Damnation, but I feel like I already showed why Rakdos is so very good with board wipes. Just pick any one of the cheaper versions and you will be very good off. For card advantage, we're also pretty good, but we're mostly based in black, which will mean that we lose some life along the way. So for example, we have Sign in Blood and Knight's Whisper, which work kind of the same in this deck, in this type of deck. But we also have red, which can give you more and more temporary draw, like Jeska's Will, and together with the fact that our mana is often very temporary too, I feel like temporary draw is just fitting and might even be sometimes better because it is cheaper or does something else alongside it, like with Jeska's Will. Some tips while playing. If you are playing Rakdos, be as aggressive as your colors are. You need to win in the now, you need to win at this moment, and if that means killing some people, just do it. Don't be afraid to kill someone, because you need to kill someone in order to be able to win the game. And sometimes that has to be very early if you are playing Rakdos, and people will feel like they are targeted, and they are. And make sure that you are targeting the right people who might be able to win in the later game, because well, they asked for it. Also, don't be afraid to let that person be you, because you need to kill yourself a little bit to draw cards, to get mana, to do basically anything in Rakdos. So don't be afraid to be so aggressive that you might kill yourself. That's just part of the game for Rakdos. Aside from that, I want to thank you for watching, but I'm also very thankful for all of you just being there, letting me know how you feel about my videos and maybe giving some feedback, but always being nice about it. I really appreciate that. So have a nice day. Bye.